All right, I think I'm on, and so let me go ahead and share the video, intro video. Okay, welcome everyone. Thank you so much for joining us with History, Prophecy, and Current Events. And I am pretty excited about what we're going to be doing tonight. And I want to begin just with a kind of a broad picture. I think that what happened Monday was a very important day for the United States of America because there was a huge shift. I mean, we're talking an incredible shift in thinking, an incredible shift in the way we do things with the inauguration of Donald Trump and the signing of 200 executive orders, some that are straight prophetic, speaking about things which God has said that He's going to do, and that we're watching God do. As a matter of fact, even as I'm speaking right now, Israel is conducting counterterrorism offensive fighting in Judea and Samaria. And there is a lot of hope that when Trump was elected president in Israel, so many people said it's time to build a temple, it's time to take our land back. And I look at the promises of the scriptures that say the land of Israel, God is going to give to the people of Israel. And there are several key cities. He talks about these cities that are going to go back to the Jews. And so the fighting that's going on in the biblical heartland of Judea and Samaria, that is happening at a bigger pace right now because I think God is getting ready to drive out those who are laughing at God and sneering at God. And the scriptures talk about how they exalt themselves against God because they refuse to give that land back to the owners of the land, which are the Jews. And they are, Ezekiel 36, for instance, talks about these people come before the Lord and say, ha ha, this ancient land of Israel is now ours and it's not going back. And God laughs at them, and then He's going to pour out His wrath on them. And so it's just interesting how people don't want to obey God. They don't want to listen. It would be a blessing to them to obey. But they're not going to obey because the scripture says that it's going to come down to a war. And so this is why the Trump administration coming in for the nation of Israel, this is biblical prophecy coming true. And what I learned about Trump the first time he ran was that he was a big supporter of the settlement movement. And just to give you just some context there, the settlement movement started after the 1967 war, where Israel won the Six-Day War. And what they did was Jews started moving back into their ancient homeland, into their cities, they started these what they call settlements, but they're just cities, they're just little towns, and Jews are living back in their land. And then they go in, they make these farms become prosperous, and then people who live around them, that the nations called Palestinians or Arabs, they start complaining they stole our land. It's not true, of course, but nobody wants to listen to the Jews, and the Jews it's said that everything's the fault of the Jews. Why? Because they want to drive Israel out of the land. And that's part of what we're doing today. We're going to be talking about that. And so the first article that I brought up to talk about this, and I think it's a very important article, it's also off of Israeli National News, and it's the incoming U.S. ambassador to UN says, her name is Elise Stefanik, says that Israel has a right to the biblical right to Judea Samaria. That's really important. She says Israel has a biblical right to Judea and Samaria. and her name is Elise Stefanik, and they went after her. I mean, I'm telling you, this guy, this Democrat, Chris Van Hollen, said that her opinion flies in the face of the UN Security Resolutions Council and America's interests in the Middle East. And he couldn't be more wrong about that. And then he tried to link her to two names. And these two names are the names of two people that when they joined the Netanyahu government, I was ecstatic. I said, okay, God is now moving to take these ancient cities, Hebron, Shiloh, Shechem, Bethlehem, all these cities are right now that are in the hands of the Muslims and the Arabs, and they don't want Jews going back to those lands, those cities. They don't want them to rule there. There's little settlements around these cities, but they don't have these cities. They're not theirs. Well, Elise Stefanik, this is what happened. Let me go ahead and read it. Elise Stefanik, incoming U.S. ambassador to the United Nations, participated on Tuesday at a hearing during which Democratic Senator Chris Van Hollen asked, "Do you subscribe to the views of Israeli Finance Minister Bezalel Smotrich and former National Security Minister Ben-Gvir, who believe that Israel has a biblical right to the entire West Bank?" And in that conversation, you told me that you do share that view. Is that your view today? Stefanik said, yes. I mean, she's very confident. I mean, this girl is bold, right? She was really known back last year when she went after the presidents of Harvard and Penn and MIT, and I kind of watched them several times because it was so much fun to listen to. But the article goes on to say something else, and I think this is very important. She went on to say that she believes that the U.S. must stand with Israel. Israel's decision to ban Hamas infiltrated UNRWA from operating in Israel, the West Bank, and Gaza. UNRWA staff participated in heinous terrorist attacks on October 7th. Its headquarters housed the underground Hamas data center. Hamas leader Sinwar carried the passport of an UNRWA teacher when he was killed. So this is really important to understand that here is a part of the United Nations and the Relief and Works Agency for the Palestinian Cause. Basically, they just participated with them, aligned themselves with them, worked with Hamas to go kill Jews. And many UNRWA staff went into Israel and murdered Jews. And then the UN turns around and tries to protect these people. Well, here comes Trump. First day, boom, signed an executive order cutting off UNRWA. Going after, and Israel is going to go after these people because why? They're murderers. They're just flat out murderers. And this is the moves. These are the two guys that I mentioned, Bezalel Smotrich and Ben-Gvir. When they became a part of the Netanyahu government, these are men of a conviction. They are not men who are playing political games. They're just really good. Look, the Bible says this is our land. The Bible promises the Jews are coming back to this land. And the Bible says we're going to possess our land. You see, that's the problem. Jews are all through Judea, Samaria, but they only possess certain little parts because the, crazy thing since 1948 was nations just keep coming up with more shrewd plans to try to steal the land of Israel, to keep them from it. So all the presidents come with some crazy peace deal that doesn't work. Oslo 1, Oslo 2, whatever. All of them. George Bush giving the Gaza Strip away. Okay, to who? Terrorists who murder Jews. Hamas has a constitution, and they believe, they wrote in their charter, they must kill every Jew in the world. This is nothing, no different, right, than the final solution stuff. Right? And that's true of Fatah. That's true of the Palestinian Authority. Anybody ever look at those maps? Those maps of the Palestinian Authority don't include Israel. The whole land is theirs. With a sword, they're going to fight until they get all of their land. There is no peace deal that you can make with these people because all it is a lie until they get enough arms so they can go kill Jews because they want to drive them out of the land. Well, here comes Trump. He puts Elise Stefanik in there and she's like those guys. She's like, look, there's the Bible. This is what it says. This is what God said. Boom. That's the truth. Get over it. And so she's going as a flamethrower to the UN, telling the truth. It's almost like a biblical prophet standing up. This is the truth. Get over it. Right? And this is the kind of thing happens. So he wrote another, there's 200 executive orders. Several of them were for Israel. Let me just read one of them. Okay, this is from another article. Trump cancels sanctions on West Bank Israeli settlers on the first day back in office. The new White House website begins by stating that the revocations in the list will be the first of many steps the U.S. government plans on taking. So what happened? The Biden administration, the O-Biden, I call it O-Biden administration, what do? They put sanctions on farmers in Judea and Samaria and basically let it out. I mean, they lie and cheat about all this stuff, call them terrorists, they're just farmers. And they sanction them so they can't get money. This is an attack on Jews. This is an anti-Semitic attack on Jews. Day one, Trump comes in, turns it all around, no sanctions on those guys. They're going to be able to get into their banks and get their money. You know, if the Biden administration didn't steal all their money, that they can get their money again and actually do their business, and without going through all the stuff that they've had to do just to survive, with others helping them. And why did the Biden administration, the old Biden administration, do this? Because they believe in a two-state solution, and they believe in Judenrein. No Jews allowed to live where? In Bethlehem. No Jews allowed to live in Hebron. No Jews allowed to live in Shiloh. No Jews allowed to live in Shechem. No Jews allowed to live in Nazareth. I mean, you got to be kidding me. Jericho. I mean, this is their point is you got to get rid of all of the Jews that live in the biblical heartland. And that is their crazy mentality. It's never worked. They've never been able to pull it off. Why? Because God has always stopped it. But now God is moving things into a time where all the land of Israel is going to be theirs. So this, it's, you can't make this kind of stuff up. Trump then wrote an executive order that said he cuts off all funds of the Palestinian Authority. Are you kidding me? I mean, that's what he did the last time. Why? Because they're not a partner for peace. They're a partner for death. That's all they kill. They train Fatah to go what? Kill Jews. I mean, that's what they do. And that's why Israel is right now fighting. They feel like, wow, somebody finally understands us. And at least that part of Israel, of people who actually believe the Bible and believe in the sovereignty of God over nations and believe in the sovereignty of God over things happen. And it's really kind of disturbing to me how many churches, well, I call them replacement theology churches, don't even believe their own Bibles. And they don't believe them. They go into the Bible and they change everything around. I want to read about one of these guys. And I bring him up because I had to read a book of his in graduate school. His name is Loraine Boettner, and I want to read about this guy. Okay, he lived from 1901 to 1990. Okay, he was a graduate of Princeton Theological Seminary. He was a member of the Orthodox Presbyterian Church. Okay, and he was a scholar of classic Reformed convictions. His influential volume called The Reformed Doctrine of Predestination had an influence on doctrines of sovereign grace. And I'm only reading that to you. Why? Because the doctrines of sovereign grace include God's sovereignty over nations, which he doesn't even believe. So how can you say you believe in a high view of the sovereignty of God and yet teach replacement theology? And he wrote a book here, it's called The Millennium. I had to read that book. I don't care if he's a scholar. That has got to be one of the worst books I've ever read. Doesn't understand Revelation at all. I was freaked by reading that dumb book, okay? And he teaches this complete supersessionism. That's what we call replacement theology. But here's the thing that really blows me away about the attitude of these people. Okay, Loraine Boettner, how in the world can you believe there's a nation of Israel today? And then you say that it's not a nation of Israel. God didn't move in history to bring these people back. God didn't do it. All of a sudden, what? You don't believe in the sovereignty of God anymore over nations? Then the nation rises, the nation falls? You know, that can't happen. I mean, a bird, a sparrow can't fall without the superintending work of the living God. And this is what you believe, and then you say this. Listen to this quote, what I'm going to say now. This is what he said about Jews in Israel, okay? With the establishment of the Christian church, Judaism should have made a smooth and willing transition into Christianity and should thereby have disappeared as the flower falls away from the developing fruit. Its continued existence as a bitter rival and enemy of the Christian church after the time of Christ, and particularly its revival after the judgment of God had fallen on it so heavily, and the destruction of Jerusalem and the dispersal of the people in 70 AD was sinful. I'm like, dude, do you understand what you're trying to say? I mean, I'm you know, blown away by this whole idea that you just throw the whole Old Testament out and Jews should have just been gone. You should have got rid of them. Where's your heart? I mean, you know, Paul said, my heart's desire, my prayer for God for them is for their salvation. He didn't go say, get rid of them. You should have just, you know, died. And what are you talking about? Biblical Judaism is what Jesus practiced. He practiced the Old Testament. He went to temple. He did all of those things. And the meaning of all those things still exists in the church, obviously. Right? Because you have sacrifices that if Jesus is fulfilling sacrifices, then those sacrifices were real and for a purpose. And then come along to say that Jesus is my sin and my trespass offering. Hello, oh, just get rid of that. You can't think like that anymore because you got to get rid of Judaism. Give me a break. That's not thinking Judaism, that's thinking Bible. Well, anyway, you got to hear what Arnold Fruchtenbaum said about this guy. He says, according to Boettner, the Jews are totally to blame for their own history of persecution. The problem is not with Gentile attitudes toward Jews, but with the Jews' failure to disappear. The solution is that the Jews should cease to be Jews, and by so doing, they will make a great contribution to the world. If the Jewish failure to assimilate that has produced tragic results both for the Jews and for the world at large, this is theological anti-Semitism with a vengeance. And this is what I want to say about this today. Trump, whether he knows it or not, is standing against all of the churches, Islam, all of these people who are doing replacement theology, who are basically saying to the world, you know, whether you're from a church or some other religion, saying that they get the blessings of God and none of the curses, Jews get all the curses, right? Trump is standing up against that. Because not only did he take all the sanctions away from all of the people who live in Judea and Samaria that were put on him by Biden and all of his guys, but he also went after the International Criminal Court. The International Criminal Court is trying to arrest Netanyahu and put him on charges for genocide down in Gaza and all this crap. That's crazy. There's no genocide. I mean, if there was a genocide, why were there any Hamas, Palestinians, all these people? You know, they didn't do this. They didn't want to be there. They gave Gaza Strip away, which is wrong. Never give up your own territory and land. And that's what, starting back at Jimmy Carter just died. What is Jimmy Carter known for? Some great peace deal with Israel, that they gave the land back on the Sinai Peninsula. Wrong. You should have never done it. Shouldn't have given it back. You don't give Gaza back. You don't give the territory up in Lebanon that they give back. You don't give your land away, Israel. And that's a violation of what God says you're supposed to do. You're not supposed to be doing these kinds of things, right? And so I look at what God says in the scriptures as getting ready to come true, because here's Trump. He went after UNRWA, cut off funds to the UN with this group, shut them off, shut off the Palestinians, shut off the International Criminal Court. Why? Because they are anti-Semitic haters of Israel and the Jews, which means they hate Jesus. They hate our God. And the reason I say that is because when they come against God's plan, Jesus being the King of kings and Lord of lords, and according to Zechariah 4:14-9, he's coming back to sit on a throne in Jerusalem, and there will be one king over the earth and one Lord over the earth, and that day he will rule for 1,000 years. And they're against him. And he's been ruling from Jerusalem because he's going to fulfill all of his promises, the hundreds of promises that are in the Bible, to the nation of Israel. But you know, and I know, that these folks who are fighting against us, they're fighting against what's going on, they're fighting against just normalcy. When Trump got up and said, there's only two genders, male and female. How about just, common sense, guys? But he is putting down some incredible things. Let me read about that real quick, because he says that, when he was writing these things, it was kind of interesting. He says, from promoting lies to defending truth, Trump signs orders dismantling Biden's dangerous trans ideology. During his first day as the nation's 47th president, Donald Trump signed dozens of executive orders, including repealing the Biden administration's promotion of transgender ideology and safeguarding freedom of speech. President Trump's executive order titled Defending Women from Gender Ideology, Extremism, and Restoring Biological Truth to the Federal Government. Let me read that again. So this is the name of this, okay? Defending Women from Gender Ideology, Extremism, and Restoring Biological Truth to the Federal Government. There are chromosomes that say what you are, right? And then he says, this overwrites the Biden-Harris administration policies that allowed men in women's private spaces, on the sports teams, and even in women's prisons. The executive order rejects gender ideology by officially defining a man and a woman in irrefutable biological terms. Trump's executive order defines gender ideology as a worldview that replaces the biological category of sex with an ever-shifting concept of self-assessed gender identity, permitting the false claim that males can identify as and thus become women or vice versa, and requiring all institutions of society to regard this false claim as true. So when you say, oh, okay, I identify something, it's your identity that matters, not who you really are. That's lawlessness, guys. That's people being turned over to, a depraved mind. And here we got somebody who's like, let's stand up for the truth, and let's stand for what we know is reality. This is reality. Men, women. There's not like 50,000 genders like these people come up with. I don't know what in the world they do, after two, but they do. They have a lot of different genders that they've come up with, and it's really disturbing in a lot of different ways. Well, I want to bring up something that I think is important. Let me share with you this, and see if you can see this. Okay, here. I want to make that a little bit bigger so you can see what we have here. Okay. Now this is a tweet from Trump in his first time he was president. You can see there, September 15th, 2019. And what did he do? He put down a map of Iran, and he listed the places that we would bomb to get rid of their nuclear program. And you know that the first time Trump was in, he was against the JCPOA, the whole thing of Barack Obama was doing to give Iran all of this money against Israel, to take any sanctions off them, to help them and their war-making ability against Israel. And so he listed these things out. Okay, I'm going to read them to you. These 9 top places. Number 1 was the Bonob Atomic Energy Research Center. Okay, here's one up in the north above Tehran and to the west. The Tehran Research Reactor, which is number 2, which is right here just south of Tehran. The Parchin Military Complex, number 3, which is right next door to that one. And then the Iraq Heavy Water Reactor and Production Plant, number 4, which actually is in the territory of Elam, and I'll show you a map of that here in a minute. The Qom Uranium Enrichment Camp plant, number 5, right here. Number 6, the Natanz Fuel Enrichment Plant, right there, number 6. Number 7, Isfahan Uranium Conversion Plant. And here's the big one, the Bushehr Nuclear Power Station. And then number 9, the Gachin Uranium Mine. Now, why is this important? This is very important because in October of 2024, Israel attacked. And Israel made Iran blind and unable to stop Israel. When they're going to go in, they're going to be bringing probably 200 planes in there, and they're going to be taking these places out. And the Bible teaches us that this is going to happen, that this is a prophecy in Jeremiah 49. And I'm not going to read it, I just want to tell you about it. Right? God says he is coming after them. Right? The same way he's coming after the people that live in Judea, Samaria, and the Gaza Strip. Zephaniah, we'll look at this here in a second. Zephaniah, right? The book of Zephaniah talks about how God is going to take over the Gaza Strip and go to war with these people. And why? Because in Joshua 13 and Joshua 15, when God was laying out the land as they were going in to fight to get the land, God told Caleb, your land, the land of Judah, the tribe of Judah, goes all the way to the coast on the Gaza Strip. That's all Judah's land, the tribe of Judah. And that's a really important thing. Okay, so they're going to get all of that land back, because this is what the Bible promises. And I'm looking at this war right now, and they're going to be getting hostages back. But believe me when I tell you, I really do believe this, that this is not going to stop probably this year until all of that territory of the Gaza Strip, everybody's gone. Trump said he would ship all of those folks that live in the Gaza Strip, the Gazans, to the nation of Indonesia, right? This is the largest Muslim nation in the world. They have over 241 million Muslims that live in Indonesia. He's going to ship them there. Right? You want to be Islam? Go. Ship, take it to the... And God says he's going to fill that land with his own people, and they will be making farms. And just like it was, before George Bush, Condoleezza Rice forced them off their land. And the stupid thing that Ariel Sharon did. And if you think back to that day, when Ariel Sharon did this, there was a rabbi who had a vision from God that said, if Ariel Sharon does this, then God will punish him severely and take him out. And as soon as they did it, boom, he had some kind of aneurysm or something. I don't remember exactly what it was, but he was out. And then he eventually died. And so you cannot go and steal God's land. God says he will come after you if you steal his land. And so even Ariel Sharon stole God's land. And, whatever insane idea that they have about peace, where they cry peace when there is no peace, all they do is make more room for people to have war. And I'm horrified at this hostage deal that they're giving all of these terrorists back, murderers, people who murdered babies. They're going to release. I can't help but think that the Mossad's got something up. They're up to something with this. You know, I wouldn't be surprised if, you know, in a few weeks, every one of those guys have some kind of bomb already planted in them, and they blow up. I don't know. But listen, guys, this is getting hot, okay? And why am I bringing up Iran? Why I think that back then Trump wanted to go attack Iran, but now Israel really needs to, because they're so close to a nuke. And I think Trump and Israel are getting ready to go do this very thing. Let me go back to this article, and here was the other thing I wanted to bring up. Iran doesn't have a powerful force in Hamas anymore. They don't have a powerful force in Hezbollah anymore. The Houthis are too far away and don't have the ability to invade or do anything except send missiles. They're getting degraded and hurt really bad, right? So what is Iran doing? They are fueling terrorists in Judea and Samaria. And that's why today they're being attacked. Jenin, Nablus, boom, 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 boom. They're getting hit. And Israel's finally standing up for some truth here. I mean, it's amazing to me. And so let me go ahead and scroll down, you know, in this article to a part that I want to get to and show you another. Okay, here it is. Here's the let me share this with you. Okay, so look at this map. Okay, so here's Kuwait, here's Iraq, Saudi Arabia, right? Israel's all the way off the map here. So Israel's going to come across Saudi Arabia. The Saudis allow them to do this, guys. And they're going to come across and boom, hit the Bushehr nuclear power plant. Okay, and they got this whole territory from Natanz, Isfahan, Shiraz. This is this mountain range. They go over, and Tehran's up here. Okay, there's this mountain range, and this is the territory of Elam that God says He's going to empty. These people are going to be like running for their lives, and they'll be scattered to all the nations of the world. This is how bad. So something bad is going to happen, nuclear in there, something like that. We can only speculate because the Bible just says that something really, really bad is going to happen there, and they're going to be spread out, you know, all over the place. And so this is a really interesting, you know, thing that's going to happen. All right. So this is the prophecy of Elam in Jeremiah 49, and God is going to take them out. And God is very angry with them for what they've been doing. And that's a really interesting, you know, piece of the puzzle. But right now, this is the first time that Israel, I think, is ready to go to do this. They are ready to go fight because they're fighting in Judea and Samaria, and they know that their major, major, major enemy is Iran. And just think about it, guys, what this is going to mean, you know, in terms of prophecy. Because when you start seeing that, right, well, start looking up, because our redemption draws nigh. The Lord is coming to get us. Let me find the other map I'm looking for that was in, I don't know if it was in this one or the other article that I'm going to go to. Okay, it is the other article. Let me get to the other article. All right, let me bring up this article, and this is a really interesting article, and this is from Iran itself. Okay, and this is what it says. The Iranian international affairs expert Mustafa, I cannot say that last name, it's so long, said in a January 15, 2025 show on Channel 1 Iran that the Europeans have never really had a say in the Iranian nuclear case and have deferred to the United States. He said, "Do you really want to negotiate with Donald Trump, the killer of the commander of the Quds Force, Soleimani? The Iranian government must answer this question." He said he recalls that several officials in Iran, talked about their plans to kill Trump. Okay? So one day after Soleimani's killing, we put a price on Trump's head. Several officials talked about killing him. Essentially, the Europeans do not have a say in anything. It's all about the Americans. They are the boss. So this is what he's saying, and there's a lot of videos about this, because the president of Iran just came out and said, no, we never put a price on the head of Trump. We didn't send assassination team. We're not going to kill him. No, they still want to kill this dude. They still want to kill our president, and they are talking about it. And so what's going on here? Now think about this, guys, and I'm just gonna lay my cards on the table here. I've studied the JFK assassination many times, over and over again. I'm fascinated with it. I'm sorry. What happened in Pennsylvania is a pattern to what happened in Dallas, okay, in 1963. And we see that the deep state here in the United States wanted to kill Trump. And they tried twice. They probably tried other times that we don't know about. For whatever reason, God in his sovereignty kept President Trump safe. And I'm thinking, okay, why? Well, one of the biggest reasons why is, if you will learn from the first 4 years he was president, what he did regarding the nation of Israel matches what God says is going to happen in biblical prophecy in the last days. Just think about it. He's the only president ever to come out and say, I'm moving the embassy. Why? Because Jerusalem is the eternal, undivided capital city of Israel. And God says, this is the capital city of the world eventually. It's going to be the capital of the world. When Jesus comes back and sits on the throne, for Jews are looking for a Messiah to come. I believe that Messiah is Jesus that they're looking for. But he is coming. He's going to sit on that throne. And Isaiah 62 lays it out for us. It says, for Zion's sake, I will not be quiet. For Jerusalem's sake, I will not be quiet until her righteousness goes forth as brightness, her salvation as the burning of the torch. And then God says, look, every king in the world is going to see this. I'm bringing my people back. They are going to marry their land again. And then he says in 6 and 7, on your walls, O Jerusalem, I've set watchmen day and night. You who remind the Lord, give the Lord no rest until he establishes, till he makes Jerusalem a praise in the earth. So when you see these 200 executive orders and the ones that he has done to protect Israel and give Israel room to go to battle and fight, right? Fight the war you have to win. That is amazing towards biblical prophecy being fulfilled. It's an amazing kind of a thing. And how is that all going to work out with the Antichrist coming and all that kind of stuff? I don't know. But on your walls, O Jerusalem, we should be praying that God establishes Jerusalem once again, and ultimately that day will come after Armageddon, when Jesus comes and fights and sits on that throne and sets it all up. Amen. But we're still supposed to pray about it. We're supposed to pray for the peace of Jerusalem. Those are exciting things getting ready to happen, in our day. Well, what about America? Listen to God's sovereignty in all of this. No nation rise or falls. No king rise and falls. You've got to really learn from Daniel chapter 4. Lorraine Bettner, supposedly an expert on Reformed doctrine of God's sovereignty and predestination and all that, couldn't even get it right about the nations. That's crazy. And I read a lot of Reformed guys, and I'm just like, how can you be so good on the doctrines of grace and yet not even understand that God rules the nations today? That no nation rise or falls now. I mean, that wasn't a past thing. That's now. That's always true. And here, Franklin Graham, listen to what Franklin Graham said when he prayed. And he was bold. And he's praying at the inauguration. And he said, and there were several guys that prayed. That last guy who prayed, that was awesome. That black guy, man, I love that. That prayer, the passion for Jesus. I mean, it was so good. Okay? And this is what he said. Franklin Graham, president of CEO Billy Graham Evangelistic Association and Samaritan Spurs, acknowledged during his prayer at today's inauguration of President Donald Trump that God alone saved Trump's life during an assassination attempt and raised him up with strength and power. This is why people don't like this dude. They don't like Trump because in their world, in their mind, he's just so arrogant. But I think it's so refreshing when a guy comes out and he's not trying to be a politician. He just tells you what he believes and what is the truth. And so he's got a guy named Tom Homan, and he is in charge of the border. And they've been down there shutting the border and arresting people, already terrorists. And they're going for it. And it's pretty exciting. So here's an article, and I want to bring it up because, I don't have a whole lot of time on this, but I think this is the heart and the core. If you're going to keep your eyes on prophecy, you gotta watch Judea and Samaria. Keep your eyes on it because it's very important. Because Trump is giving us room now in America for freedom of speech. And I'll tell you one thing I saw happen after the Ohio State game. When they beat Notre Dame, one of the ESPN reporters said, actually, we hear Ohio State, it's real important, your spirituality as a team. I'm like, uh-oh, what happened to wokey ESPN? I couldn't even believe that question came out of his mouth. And then Will Howard was so strong and confident in his faith about Jesus and just bold in his witness. I mean, this is an exciting time to be bold in your witness and doing that. I mean, it's just so important. So important. And we need to be bold in our witness. One of my students this afternoon texted me and said she led a girl to Christ and wants me to go meet with her tomorrow. And this is exciting stuff, guys. We're seeing people come to faith in Christ. I think we had about 30 kids come to Christ last week. This is exciting stuff what God is doing. So he's opening doors. People are getting confident and they're sharing the gospel. Okay, but you have to keep your eye on Israel. Israel's the main thing, right? God is doing some good things for us in America. Man, I'm excited about that. But I am under no, I'm not blind to the truth. The last time Trump was president, the left went nuts, and they're already doing it today. And I'll bring that up here in a second, but I want to read part of this, okay? The truth about Judea and Samaria, Israel's disputed heartland. All right, this is the prophetic truth. I'm going to read some scriptures from this article, okay? Micah 5:2. As for you, Bethlehem of Ephrathah, even though you remain least among the clans of Judah, nevertheless, the one who rules in Israel from me will emerge from you. His existence has been from antiquity, even from eternity. Now we know that there in the book of Luke, when Herod asked, where's the Messiah going to be born? And they said Bethlehem, and they read this passage of scripture. But did you pay attention? This is what? The tribe of Judah, right? Because Bethlehem is the city of David. Born in Bethlehem. This is the territory of Judah. This was given to Caleb, right? And so the Bible is saying in the New Testament, naming areas for their tribe, where they were their tribes. And that's really important, because then when you get to Matthew 2:1, it says, after Yeshua was born in Bethlehem of Judea. This is Judea. And then when Israel gave Bethlehem to Yasser Arafat and the Palestinian Authority, I freaked out. I mean, I was young in my faith, but all the way back then when it happened, I was like, what is he doing? You're giving your land away to the evil ones, to the ones who hate you, to the ones who want you dead. And God says, don't do that. So Bethlehem's going back. Bethlehem, believe it or not, is going back. And the people in Bethlehem who are there to kill Jews, who are there, who start these intifadas, they have killed Jews, and Israel has had to, put up some barriers to stop this terrorism coming out of Bethlehem. One day it's all going to be free, and Bethlehem's going to be free, and God's going to take it back. And so when he says this, listen to this. I'm going to read this again, Matthew 2:1. After Yeshua had been born in Bethlehem of Judea during the reign of King Herod, wise men arrived in Jerusalem from the east. Okay? Genesis 12. Remember, this is the Abrahamic covenant. And God said to Abraham, I will give you this land. Look. And then he said, look, north, south, east, west is all yours. Your descendants will be taking this land. That happened during the days of Joshua, when that finally happened. And so, Genesis 13, 17 and 18. Go walk through the length and breadth of the land, for I'm giving it to you. So Abram went to live near the great trees of Mamre at Hebron, another city where they cut it off and they won't let you be in there. There's parts of Hebron Jews can't go. You go up to the cave of Machpelah, right? And Jews are only allowed to go in there one part, and then Muslims have their part, and da-da-da-da-da-da. Hey, no, that's coming to an end. All that mess is coming to an end. And it's coming real fast, guys. Get ready. It's going to be exciting, okay? And then what does UNESCO say? What does the UN say? Jerusalem is not Jewish. Jerusalem is not the eternal capital city of Israel. Yeah, we got a president in right now who says, yes, it is. And God is moving towards that goal and giving it to him. And this is what's going to inspire, eventually when Antichrist comes, this peace treaty and all of this anger, lying, and fighting that's going to happen, which will end up in Armageddon. All of this is leading to that, okay? And so it's really, really nuts. Let me go down to this one other part. Here, this is a prophecy in Genesis 37, and I believe this prophecy is coming true. He says, once more a remnant of the king of Judah will take root below and bear fruit above. It's going to happen. So what is wrong with Israel right now? Well, one, they got the wrong government. They have a parliamentary form of government, and they're supposed to have a monarchy. Two, they're supposed to have the tribes of Israel as the territory of their land. They have to go back to that. And that has to happen someday. Let me pull up just some maps of that, okay? And so that you can see if I can find the maps that I'm put on here on this. Hold on one second. Let me... Oh, where are my maps? Boom, boom, boom. Okay, here they are. Alright, so here you can see this is from the time of Solomon, where they started taking more and more of their land. And then here was still the Philistines. Well, look, they were supposed to take all of this for the tribe of Judah, all the way up this whole area. And they had not done it. So God is promising this is going to happen someday, okay? And so you have to understand that this is going to happen someday, that God is going to make this a reality, all right? And that's an exciting reality, I think. Here, let me pull up this map, and then you can see what it's eventually going to start looking like, okay? So here, this territory of Judah, let me kind of make this a little bit bigger here. This territory of Judah is going all the way over here according to the book of Zephaniah. Zephaniah says that God's promise is to give all of this land, Gaza, Ashdod, Ashkelon, all of this territory. So right now, the Gaza Strip starts right about here, right next to Ashkelon, and goes down. So all of this is going back to the nation of Israel. And you can see here is the Dead Sea, but this is what today? Jordan. No, it's supposed to be Reuben. This is Jordan. No, it's supposed to be Gad. And this is Jordan. No, it's supposed to be the territory of Manasseh. And then when you go up here, this is supposed to be the territory of Dan, which goes all the way to Mount Hermon. And you can see here, okay, these 12 tribes, they were supposed to extend up into here, God said. And what is happening with Israel today? Oh my goodness, this is crazy. But they took territory all the way into Syria. When you look at the original teaching of the scriptures, that the land of Israel is supposed to go all the way up into Syria, above Mount Hermon, and Israel's planted troops there now. Okay? And past Mount Hermon, on that mountain range. And they are getting, man, I'm telling you what, it's just exciting to see what's happened, over this last year. What man and Hamas meant for evil, God meant for good, because out of that tragedy, you have to think of tragedies different than the world, right? You have to think of it like the Job. What happened to Job was horrible, but yet in it he never sinned because he really believed something. He believes a real biblical truth. Same thing with Joseph. What his brothers meant for evil, God meant for good, and they wanted to kill him. It was horrible. And yet, he got sent into Egypt, and then God fulfilled prophecy through him. Well, I think the same way what happened October 7, 2023, this horrible, horrible thing that Hamas did, the evil and wickedness that they've done, God is going to judge them. He has already judged them. They're going down for all of this. Guys, but what they meant for evil, God meant for good. Why? Because the people of Israel are starting to believe the promises to Israel from their own God, from the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Our great living God is going to accomplish this to do what? To bless all the nations of the world. And that's what people don't understand. This is for the blessing of the nations of the world. Now I want to say something about the left, and they're coming back at Donald Trump. There was a prayer meeting, and these people were going to get up and preach, and this one Episcopal bishop got up and preached, this woman, and it was horrifying what she did. She didn't preach no gospel. She didn't get in the word. She just went after Trump with her woke agenda, wacky stuff. And I'm thinking to myself, man, here we go. The left, Satan doesn't stop fighting. He never stops fighting, right? He believes he's the most high God, according to Isaiah 14. He's got to exalt himself as El Elyon and be the most high God. Get out of town, right? Why does he need AI? Why does he need, all the ways of tracking people? Because he's not omniscient, omnipresent, right? He's not, he doesn't have all power. He's not omnipotent. He doesn't have those things. Only El Elyon, the Most High God, has those things. But he wants to make himself like that. And so he's doing all of this. So he's not giving up in all of this. So yes, there's some sunshine. And I always think of good leaders like this. A good leader is one who plants a vision. People will follow a vision. And this guy works so hard, Donald Trump. He planted a vision for America. And then he goes to work. And he works very hard. He's a hard-working man. And he is trying to do this so that he can bless the American people. This is what he is saying. This is what he is doing. But make no mistake about it, the left is still coming after him. If they tried to assassinate him before, they're going to do it again. There's a lot of groups out there that want this man dead and to stop him. What I'm saying is you need to pray for the President of the United States and pray for America, that God will heal our division, that maybe, possibly, we could have a revival. Right? We are the American vine. God established the United States of America for a purpose. You go back to our founders, and what were they doing? They were calling prayer and fasting for the nation. During the Revolutionary War, after the Revolutionary War, they prayed this way for the Continental Congress to write the Constitution. We were born in prayer. We were born in the sovereignty of God. And we exist today because of the sovereignty of God. And I believe that we, as Christians, have an opportunity to be bold in our faith, share the gospel, let people understand the truth about the rise and fall of nations and who our God needs to be. Blessed is the nation whose God is the Lord. That's what we need to be teaching people. Right? Righteousness exalts a nation, but sin is a disgrace to any people. Righteousness is what's going to exalt this nation. And so we have to stand firm, stand up, stand out. And I am praying like crazy this Tom Homan will be successful. And Trump will be successful in exporting all these people who came in here illegally or here to do us harm. You know, the amount of sleeper cells that come in, the amount of Chinese that came in, you know, who want to do us harm, the amount of Muslims that came in, Hezbollah guys, Hamas, Al Qaeda guys who came in. They want to do us harm. Hopefully, I hope and pray to God that God will stop any terrorist thing and bless our nation again. Just because of the way this happened the last few days. And you could see how people want righteousness and goodness and holiness. And many of the people that Trump put into high positions are all confessing Jesus as Lord and King. That's exciting to me. That is really exciting to me. Pete Hegseth, I mean, he's one of them, you know, and just blank on his name, who's the ambassador going to Israel, who's a believer. You know, this is exciting. It's totally exciting. Well, I'm out of time. I'm praising God for the good things that He has done, and we're just very thankful, you know, that this week there's a lot of optimism, there's a lot of hope, and let's just pray that Jesus will turn America around and cause a tremendous revival in our nation. All right, guys, I love you guys. Thank you so much for being with me tonight.